being on time, a handshake, paying attention, and how they treat the people when they walk into the building or my office, because I ask before I start the interview, how was the person? Were they on their phone? Were they rude to people? Were they on time? So the number one thing is how you show up. Matter of fact, that's the name of my book, Show Up. You make people comfortable and you ask them questions that have nothing to do with the job. And when they get really, really comfortable, you start asking them difficult questions because they go from very quiet, very casual to now they have to answer a question. And you see how they react just in that change of from one question that's a soft question to a more difficult question. However, that doesn't mean that that person doesn't know how to handle stress. They could just be uncomfortable in the environment. It's an instinct. After doing thousands and thousands of interviews, it's an instinct. But I've seen the best people who I thought would handle stress great, and I put them through all the tests, but they don't handle it all the time because it is difficult to be doing everything at the front desk, but also checking in a guest that's yelling at you. Not too many people can handle that. What do you suck at? People, when you ask them what are you good at, they have 30 things and they can't stop talking. I don't mean to be rude, but I interrupt them usually and say, okay, what do you suck at? I don't say, what do you need to improve on? What do you suck at? And people that can answer that like that, almost 90% of the time I hire them because they answer all my other questions well. But most people, 90% of the people, either can't answer it or take a minute or two to think about it. So if you don't know what you need to work on, like I'm told I'm intense. So I work on my intensity. When I walk into an environment, I know who's in the room and I try to reduce my intensity to meet the room. So I know what I need to work on. So if you don't know what you have to work on, I don't know if you should work for me because everybody in the building should be working on themselves. In my opinion, probably not politically correct. We talk a good talk, but then we work people and have high expectations of people, very high expectations of people that sometimes can't be met. And we'll change their schedule. We won't pay them as much as maybe their friends are making. Their health benefits aren't really strong. So you can have the greatest culture when it comes to how you treat somebody as far as service. But if you're not taking care of their health benefits, their salary, giving them a schedule that they can understand what's coming, you lose. So I see it all the time. It's like I can't keep people. It's like, well, you don't offer any health benefits. Your pay is below the market, and you're constantly changing people's schedule. I had this young lady who was amazing, who was in hospitality school. She's a friend of my daughter's, and I'm going to strike that. I have a young lady I know that went to hospitality school, and she got to the job, and all she talks about is she works 6 days a week, 14 hours a day. They're always short staffed, and nobody appreciates her. So how long is she going to be in the business? In the hospitality business, people see right through you. There are so many opportunities to pick up trash on the floor. There's so many opportunities to walk into a room and help a housekeeper make a bed. There are so many opportunities to give somebody a little time off because you know they're working really, really hard. You have hundreds of opportunities a day to show that there's nobody more important than the employee, and certainly not you. So when people see that you'll do those things, not only they want to work for you, they don't want to disappoint you. Onboarding of your employee is the most important thing you can do. You're busy, you're short staffed. You give them a checklist and you go, okay, tomorrow you're going to start, and Just work with this supervisor who probably is going to call in sick, and and good luck. If you take the time and make believe that person's not even on the schedule, and you treat them, you put a training schedule together, and they're not responsible for anything for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and you have a very strategic way of onboarding them, results show that those people stay longer. Every single job I've ever had, I got thrown in at it, and I just had to figure it out. But I'm that guy. Most people aren't. Like, I like chaos when I like, but most people need a structure. Actually, if I get a check with a structure, it doesn't work for me. But most people love that and need that. And if you want to build your brand, it's absolutely imperative. Well, I always say I don't make any decisions. The information makes decisions. So the information is making every decision. So metrics are critically important. So I would say the metrics, it's a history of what you did right and what you did wrong. So numbers make decisions. Someone that can come into the room and be able to absorb things and be able to think about things and then be able to react to things. Emotional control is the most important thing we all do. It took me 30 something years to figure that out. And I'm just now figuring out how to go into a room and make sure I absorb, make sure I filter, and then react. So I think, and I have good emotional intelligence, but apparently my brand is intensity, and I'm trying to reduce that a little bit when I walk into a room. So I think it's critical. Close your door an hour after you do your paperwork. So come in the room, do your paperwork. I used to by 8:30, my door was closed. I was on the other side of the door walking around. If you set up your hotel right, you set up your managers right, you should have nothing to do, especially as a general manager. So walk around management is overused, but it is the only way to run a hotel. I don't need to look at my P&L and I don't need to look at my inventory because I'm walking the floors. I know where we're spending money. I know how much inventory we have. The housekeeper told me we don't have enough linen. I go in the back and the steward tells me we don't have enough alcohol. So I don't need to look at my paperwork. And that builds loyalty because people know. And you can be a supervisor at the front desk and do the same thing. People know you're there. When people fail, celebrate it. Make them feel safe. Make sure they know the lesson that just happened. Teach them, but celebrate it. Say, you know what? Unfortunately, that cost us $100, and unfortunately, the guest wasn't happy. But I'm happy it happened because you just learned something, and now you can teach the next person coming on what not to do. So you have to celebrate failure. It's easier to celebrate success, but in the book I write, Show Up, I didn't realize it, but most of the book is about my failures. It's not about my successes, it's about my failures. So celebrate the failure because then people will feel safe. And also saying, I was wrong, you were right, I'm sorry, to an employee is just builds loyalty.